Gerald Celente, what in the world is going on? What are the elites doing? Because it's not just happening here, it's happening all over the world. And I know your pet peeve is this war on cash. They want us cashless so they can put global taxes, currency taxes, money transfer taxes, and track everything we do. They want to illegally surveil us. I guess now putting your blinds down will be illegal. I mean, it is not illegal to get cash. What is going on? I know you've really written about this and talked about this. Internal capital controls.
Well, on the money end, I wrote back in 2009 when things were really shaky. I tried taking money out of a key bank over here. We did a story in the Trends Journal about how they harassed me and had me sign all these papers. And I had to put up a fuss to get my money. And then back in, as a matter of fact, I even did it on your show. A few years later, it happened to me again at HSBC. Oh, it was an ugly picture. I threatened to call the police. They would not give me my money. And it was well over $5,000. And they kept asking me what I was going to use the money for. And I kept saying, none of your business. Who do you think you are? You didn't ask me where I got the money from when I put it in your bank. How dare you ask me? This went on for almost a day. Then you start adding up the pieces. 2011, Halloween night, the perfect time for the clowns to pull a dirty trick. John the Slime Corzine, everybody's Democratic lovely boy from Jersey, former head of the Goldman Sachs gang, a low-life piece of garbage who gets a free ride for bringing down MF Global. Remember, I had my money with them, and I couldn't get it out. And then they ended up taking a good, not a huge part, but a piece of it, and it only took me a couple of years to get it back. And I told the story of what happened on 9/11. When I saw the trade towers coming down, the first thing I did, I picked up the phone. I had money in Fleet Bank, certificates of deposit. In those days, Alex, they used to have a thing called interest rates where you could make money on them. So I had our company's money in CDs up in Fleet Bank up in Boston. I said, oh, this is Mr. Celente. I'd like my money transferred to the my Rhinebeck account, because I don't know. I'm watching the trade towers come down. Hey, something they never talk about, all those military guys. Remember somebody whacked the Pentagon? Yeah, I remember that one too. So I don't know if there's going to be a nuclear explosion on one of the rotted power plants on the Hudson River, Indian Point. So if that happens, I want to get out of here. So I want to get my money, Gerald Celente's GC's 3Gs, guns, gold, and a getaway plan. I'm going to head to Canada, 4.5 hours away from here. From Canada, I could go anywhere. So they say to me before I give them my wire transfer information, Mr. Celente, certificates of deposit are financial instruments, and Wall Street is closed. You can't get your money. 3 strikes, you're out. I got 3 strikes against me. They wouldn't give me my money on 9/11. HSBC Slimers wouldn't give me my money. The Key Bank lowlifes.
And Corzine grabbed your money, so that's 4 strikes. Stay there. We're going to come back and talk about the big picture, the hell of a cashless robo-apocalypse when everything is digital, the mark of the beast with Gerald Celente. One of the big signposts of living in a hardcore tyranny is capital controls. And the TSA now admits that's going to be part of their job. They claim if the IRS has an investigation going on you, not an indictment, not a criminal investigation, just has your name in a file, you won't be able to fly out of the country. Now they're talking about if you haven't had vaccines, you can't fly. It's all outside of law. And the New York Times comes out and says, yeah, they take old ladies' money with no criminal records, and even after tax money, the IRS just takes their accounts. Tens of thousands of people a year. And now the feds are giving speeches. Assistant Attorney General Leslie Cadwell gave a speech in which she urged banks to alert law enforcement authorities about a problem. This is a quote, so that police can, quote, seize the funds or at least initiate an investigation. So the cops pull you over and just grab the money out of your car, and then the feds get 20% of it, locals get 80%. That's federalization. As Black highlights, according to the handbook for the Federal Financial Institution Examination Council, such suspicious activity includes transactions conducted or attempted by at the bank or an affiliate and aggregating 5,000 or more. People think it's still 10, so they get under that like they're trying to hide when you're doing nothing wrong. You'd be insane not to have 5-10% of your cash, in a safe or something. Black provides a chilling scenario under which an attempt to withdraw your own money from your bank account could end with a home visit from the cops. And then they go through it, how they're doing it. And again, under asset forfeiture, seizure, and the drug laws, you see these cases where the cops pull you over. It's usually really corrupt jurisdictions that fully do this. And it'll be an old lady, and they'll say, "What's in your purse?" And they'll see $2,000, knowing old ladies carry a lot of cash because they're smart from the Depression. And they'll just take it. So if you don't like it, go see the judge. The judge will say, "We're going to test that, ma'am. This has come out on the news hundreds of times. We find any drug residue, we're going to take your car and indict you because the federal law says we can," which it really doesn't, but they misinterpret and have kept juries that'll do it. And a lot of times they say, "Okay, go ahead and do it." Then they'll test the money. And, of course, almost all money has some drug residues on it. They'll say, "All right, we're indicting you. My cousins are all on the jury." And that's what goes on from upstate New York to East Texas. And those are the bad cops. And the feds wrote it all. They did it all. It is beyond Boss Hogg and Roscoe Pico train. Those are angels compared to this. And then the big banks, pull up Bloomberg, $378 billion. Wells Fargo, Wachovia, laundered drug money. Didn't even get in trouble from 2005 to 2008 when they got, quote, caught. I mean, they were leasing and running the drug aircraft. The cops will be out here looking for drugs on the street when the big banks are laundering the money by the trillions every decade. $500 billion a year in drug money in the U.S. alone. Our troops loaded on the C-130s and fly it here. When they couldn't hide it anymore, they just put it on the news. Going back to Gerald Celente, this is about social control. Whether people believe in the Bible or not, it's the same thing, where everything's tracked, everything's traced, everything's looked at by the NSA, all these other agencies. They follow everything you do. They built back doors into everything, letting the hackers get into the back doors and create all the financial crises we see, with credit cards getting canceled every few weeks now and debit cards. So cashless is a disaster. And then if we want to have cash, because it's fun to give somebody a tip in cash or fun to, give bonuses in cash at Christmas, I'm supposedly dirty to take after-tax money and give it to people. I mean, this is so sick. We live in a prison in this country. It's like Forbes saying the war on lemonade stands. They don't want barter. They don't want grassroots. What's really behind it, Gerald Celente?
I believe that this latest issue about notifying the police with withdrawals is fear of a banking crisis. And that's why I was relating to what has happened to me in the past. They cannot afford to run on the banks because there is no dough in the banks to really cover this. You look what happened, Alex, at the end of 2014, when all of a sudden, Jamie Legs Diamond over there from the J.P. Morgan Chase gang actually gave Congress the language to put in about credit default swaps to be part of the balance sheet in banks. So essentially, all these trillions in derivatives and credit default swaps that the banks are gambling with, now they're covered by, supposedly, FDIC. And then you add on top of that the legislation with the bail-ins that allows the banks to grab your dough if it can't be covered by insurance. I believe that this is being done to dissuade people from taking their money out of banks and to penalize them when they do. Because I believe there's going, and it's not only me, it's Dr. Paul Craig Roberts.
Well, we've seen the bail-ins in Cyprus and other areas. This is the globalist model everywhere else they've been. I mean, Obama's talking about tax increases by executive order, totally illegal. They're talking about grabbing education funds, calling them trust funds. I mean, they are really gearing up, Gerald.
Exactly. And again, you look at David Stockman's work, all of us. We're all saying that this Ponzi scheme is going to collapse. You see what happens, Alex. even when they hint about raising interest rates. The market goes into panic because the low interest rates have allowed this Ponzi scheme to continue to go. And now they're doing it, of course, over in Europe with their quantitative easing, and over there, it's one country after another. So what we're saying is this is going to collapse. When it collapses, there's going to be panic. When there's panic, people will go to the banks.
That's right.
When they go to the banks, they're going to get nothing.
Well, it's clear that we've got a lot of special interests that are out of control, and I've studied history. Elites always think they're invincible. The white shoe boys that you call them, the Harvard gang, there's no way they're going to get away with this. I mean, they're even training, Gerald, to have the military take over domestically, as you know, and admitting it. But the military is getting screwed over worse than anybody. I mean, who would have the nerve to put even young men and women with treatable diseases on do not treat list at the VA? I mean, they are. Our government is so illegitimate, Gerald. Where do you see all this going? I mean, Washington is so blackmailed. Congress, wouldn't even stop the FCC grabbing the internet. They're just, Obama's dissolved the borders. They're about to sign the Pacific Partnership in secret. I mean, we are living in just a crazy time. Where is it all going?
Again, we're looking at a collapse. And it's not only in the United States. Look what's going on around the world. Whether it's the Podemos party in Spain, whether it's UKIP in the UK, Le Pen's party got, 25% of the vote? You're going to start seeing more and more revolution take place. The people have had it. You know the numbers. What is it? 1%, according to Oxfam, is going to control 99% of all the money next year.
But, I mean, how can the elites then know that there's a class war against the middle class going on by the elite and then try to sick the giant underclass on the middle class and start a race war? That dog's not hunting. Clearly the Democrats and George Soros, well, they admit it's been released, are spending hundreds of millions total and putting up fake stickers in Austin saying white only to get us all fighting with each other and divide and conquer, Gerald. I don't see Washington's balkanization plan working.
Well, it's not going to, and it is going to be chaos and more mayhem. There's absolutely no question about it. You even have guys like this Paul Tudor Jones, one of the, some name like that. They always have these very important names like Tudor. And he's coming out, big hedge fund guy, warning about what's going to happen with the middle class dissolving.
And you know what Tudor means? That's British royalty, a British house that fell hundreds of years ago. But exactly, you look at the elite in our country, people always obsess over their ethnicity. A lot of them are connected to British royalty. And then you see our tabloids worshiping British royalty. It's like a Twilight Zone episode, Gerald.
It is. And it's exactly, look, Alex, the fish rots from the head down. It's a truism. We have become a murderous criminal class run by two mafias. I should say the Bloods and the Crips, the Democrats and Republicans. How many more people do they have to murder in the name of freedom and democracy? And how much more of our money do they have to steal in the name of too big to fail?
And they've maneuvered us into total bankruptcy. They're trying to hurt the dollar long term. What do you think their exit strategy is? I mean, do they have a method to their madness? Because I see the London Guardian and others reporting on what we've said forever. They're building secret underground bunkers and castles in the Ozarks. They're building landing strips in New Zealand in the middle of nowhere and putting in guard houses with up to 20 armed, mercenaries that they give endowments to live with them for life. I mean, the elite have been really good at screwing everybody over, but now they're going to have to live in armored fortresses. That's the scariest part for me, is that the elite are digging in, Gerald.
They don't have a clue what to do. It's out of their control. It's out of control. It is spun out of control. Look, tell me one victory in any field, whether it's military, not since World War II, with the exception, of course, of Grenada and Panama, healthcare, education, environment, everything they touch, they turn to failure.
But they've been good at robbing us. They've been good at robbing us, making us sick and dumb, and destroying the middle class.